There was once a city glowing in the light of torches. Giant temples rose toward the sky. A powerful empire fed millions of people. Then, in one moment of history, without warning, it was gone. Angkor, the shining heart of the Khmer Empire, disappeared. What remains today are only silent stone walls standing alone in the jungle. Angkor was not just big, it was enormous. Today, archaeologists say its size was even larger than modern New York City. But this massive city became empty. Where did the people go? They vanished as if into the air, leaving behind temples as silent as giant tombs. Some blame war. Others speak of hunger drought or disease. But the truth is not so simple. Angkor did not fall in one great battle. It did not burn in fire. Instead, it faded slowly in silence. And maybe the force that ended Angkor was not an enemy from outside, but the very hands of the people who once built the greatest wonder of Southeast Asia. Dear English learners, together we will explore this mystery step by step, using clear and simple English. As we follow the story of Angkor, you will not only uncover the legend of a lost empire, but also improve your English with short sentences and powerful words you can use in daily life. Are you ready to begin this journey? Step through the south gate of Angkor Thom, and you will see two long rows of giant stone statues. On one side stood the gods, on the other side stood the demons. Together, they pulled the body of a massive serpent, the Naga in the cosmic ritual called churning of the ocean of milk, the ancient story of how the gods created immortal life. Their eyes were fixed unblinking, staring deep into the soul of every traveller. No one could be sure was it a welcome, or a warning from another world. Inside, the city opened like a small universe. The walls rose 8 meters high and stretched for 12 kilometers. They were both fortress and border, dividing the human world from the divine. Around it flowed a huge system of canals so wide that people compared it to an ocean surrounding Mount Meru, the center of the universe in Khmer belief. In the 12th century, under King Jayavarman VII, Angkor reached its greatest glory. The city held 500,000, maybe even 1 million people, more than many European capitals of the same time. Straight roads led into the center, where night fires lit up carvings that told the stories of the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. War drums, conch shells, and chanting voices rose into the sky like the chorus of an empire. Angkor was not only a city, it was a challenge to time itself, a monument to the human dream of building heaven upon the earth. A city, no matter how strong, cannot fight the sky. The Khmer Empire once controlled a vast system of waterworks, canals, reservoirs, and dams that stretched for many kilometers. This network fed hundreds of thousands of people in Angkor. It turned dry land into endless rice fields. The Khmer believed they had mastered nature itself. But nature, just a single frown, was enough to break an empire. Studies by Brendan Buckley of Columbia University, using tree rings, and by Dan Penny of the University of Sydney, using soil cores around Angkor, reveal the truth. In the 14th and 15th centuries, Southeast Asia faced long, severe droughts, broken by sudden violent floods. The Great Canals of Angkor, once its pride, became its weakness. When water was scarce, the system cracked and failed. When rain came in fury, the same system burst apart, washing away the land and the harvests. The fields split open. Hungry families abandoned the city, searching for places where food and water still remained. The temples still stood tall, but around them stretched empty fields, silent villages, and fading chants of monks. Angkor did not burn in fire. It dried out. It suffocated in the cruel arms of the climate. Nature rose in anger, and humans stood powerless. Yet this was only the first piece of the puzzle. For another enemy was waiting, more patient, more merciless, the endless wars that slowly ate away the soul of Angkor. If nature was the invisible enemy, then Ayutthaya was the sword, sharp, visible, and merciless. From the 14th century onward, as Angkor grew weaker from hunger and disorder, The kingdom of Ayutthaya rose in the west like a storm of fire. Founded in 1350, Ayutthaya expanded quickly and became the direct rival of the Khmer Empire. History remembers endless battles between the two powers. Khmer soldiers once fought bravely, sometimes even winning, but their strength was no longer the same as in the golden days. Angkor, proud of its high walls and mighty monuments, struggled against the fast and brutal attacks of Ayutthaya. Then came the year 1431, the darkest tragedy. Ayutthaya's army surrounded Angkor Thom for 7 long months. Inside the city, food ran out. People starved. Disease spread quickly through the city. At last, the walls that had once been the pride of the Khmer could no longer stop the enemy. Angkor fell. A city once larger than modern New York, an empire that once made all of Southeast Asia tremble, now bowed under the feet of another power. But war took more than land. It stole faith. When Angkor collapsed, nobles and citizens began to leave, moving to Phnom Penh. The capital became an empty shell. The temples still stood. The walls were still there, but the soul had already left the body. Angkor was built by human hands, and in bitter irony, those same hands also wrote its death sentence. The Khmer water system was one of the greatest engineering works of the medieval world. But this wonder was not perfect. When droughts came, the reservoirs dried to stone. When floods poured down, the canals overflowed and burst, carrying away soil and farmland. Instead of protecting the city, the system betrayed its own masters. Archaeologists using LiDAR technology discovered the traces of canals that had been repaired again and again, patched until they became chaotic. This is clear evidence the Khmer fought desperately, but the more they fixed, the faster the system collapsed. Like a giant beast, Angkor trapped itself in the net of stone and water it had created. Perhaps the greatest tragedy was not an enemy from outside, but the endless ambition from within. The Khmer wanted to conquer nature. They dreamed of turning Angkor into a miniature universe. And they succeeded. But the price was high. The city became a giant cage, locking in the very life it was meant to protect. When the last wall shook under the feet of the invaders, and the drums of war fell silent, Angkor did not collapse in a single moment. It left behind a crack in history, a wound that lasted for centuries. Tens of thousands of people were forced to leave their homes, to walk away from temples carved by the sweat and blood of their ancestors. The people moved downstream, toward the Mekong River, toward the place that centuries later would become Phnom Penh, the new capital. It was smaller, humbler, but practical for a world now shaped by sea trade. The first result was social collapse. The royal family grew weak. The officials scattered. Farmers abandoned the fields, once fed by the great water system. But the deeper wound lay in memory. The Khmer carried the temples in their hearts, but also carried a bitter lesson that technology, power, and religion could not protect them from drought, hunger, or endless war. The stone city was swallowed by the jungle. Paths disappeared. Roads of stone faded under moss. Only statues and carvings remained whispering of lost glory. For the outside world, Angkor fell silent until French explorers in the 19th century walked into the ruins and wrote of temples in the forest, awakening Europe's imagination. Later, archaeology, LiDAR technology, and climate studies peeled back the mystery, showing not one single enemy, but a chain of mistakes, disasters, and challenges. Today, Angkor lives again in a different way. No longer the heart of an empire, it is the symbol of Khmer identity, a heritage, an inspiration, and a landmark of a nation that rose after loss. Tourists arrive, cameras flash, guides tell stories. But among the crowds, a quiet voice remains. Angkor was condemned by its own dream. And from that judgment, a people learned to stand up to change and to remember. In the end, Angkor teaches us this. A civilization can disappear from the map of power, but it can never be erased from memory, where glory and tragedy live side by side. and where lessons wait for those still daring to build universes of stone.